The reason is a pretty simple one, and that is the American people in Kansas, in Missouri, all over this country are sick and tired of establishment politics. They've heard it over and over and over again. And they know that Washington is too busy representing the interest of wealthy campaign contributors to worry about the middle class. We're going to change that. And the American people are sick and tired of establishment economics in which millions of our people in this room, are working longer hours for lower wages, and almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%. And as Representative Ellington said, the American people are tired of a broken criminal justice system. This campaign is gaining momentum because we're doing something very, very radical. We are telling the truth. We are listening to the American people. We are listening to workers in Kansas, Missouri, Vermont, all over this country, who are telling us they can't make it on $9 or $10 an hour. We are listening to senior citizens and disabled veterans. As the former chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, thank you, veterans, for putting your lives on the line to defend. We are listening to seniors who are saying, Bernie, I can't make it on $11,000 or $12,000 a year Social Security. We are listening to young people who are saying, why is it that I have to be $50,000 or $100,000 in debt because I Why should we be punished because we wanted to get an education? We are listening to women. And women are saying, why is it that we are earning 79 cents on the dollar compared to that? And why is it that African American women are earning even less? And we're listening to women and men who are asking, why is it that when mom goes to work and dad goes to work, they cannot find affordable, quality child care for their little ones? And we are listening to our brothers and sisters in the African American community who are asking, how does it happen that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth? And we are listening to our Latino brothers and sisters who are saying that they They are tired of living in the shadows. They want a path toward citizenship. Now, everybody in this room understands that real change in this country never takes place from the top on down. It is not about a president signing some legislation or a Supreme Court making a decision. Real change always, always, always takes place from the bottom on up. That is the history of America. Real change took place 150 years ago when workers said, you know what, we're not animals, we're not chattel, we're going to organize into unions and we are going to negotiate. Real change takes place over the last many, many years when the African American community and their white allies said, you know what, racism and bigotry are not acceptable in the United States of America. Takes place when women and their male allies say that women will not be second-class citizens. Let us not forget, not for one moment, that 100 years ago today, women did not even have the right to vote. But women and their male allies said, sorry, that is going to change. And if we were in this room 10 years ago, not a long time ago, and somebody jumped up and said, you know, Bernie, I think that in the year 2015, gay marriage will be legal in 50 states of this country. Next to them would have said, hey, what are you smoking?
Yeah! Woo!
Which raises a whole other question. But the point is that the gay community and their straight allies said, you know what, in America, people should have the right to love those people they want. Brothers and sisters, I know that all of us are big football fans and we're basketball fans. All right?
Yeah.
But football and basketball, you turn on the TV, that's a spectator sport. You see great athletes at work. Democracy is not a spectator sport. All of you and all of the American people, we are the quarterbacks of our future. What we have got to understand is that men and women over the decades have put their lives on the line and sometimes died to defend American democracy. And democracy is a very radical idea, kind of new to world civilization. And what democracy means, it's not a king or a queen or a czar. who determines the future of the country. It is the American people. I want to take a moment to talk about an issue that does not get a whole lot of discussion. And one of the things that we're trying to do in this campaign is force discussion on issues that the establishment would prefer that we did not discuss. I want to remind everybody here that when one of the great leaders in modern American history, Dr. Martin Luther King, he was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. He was there not on what we would call a civil rights demonstration. He was there standing with striking garbage workers who are exploited and low paid. And Dr. King, in his last few months, was working. He was putting together a poor people's campaign, March on Washington, in which he said, poor whites, poor Latinos, poor Native Americans, poor African Americans are going to stand together and demand justice and a change in national priorities. Said at the end of his life, let me quote you what he said. He asked a question, and I want you to hear how resonant that question that he asked 50 years ago, how resonant that is today. He said, do you know that most of the poor people in our country are working every day? They are making wages so low that they cannot begin to function in the mainstream of the economic life of our nation. That was 50 years ago, and here we are today asking the same question. Why is it that millions and millions of our people are working 40 or 50 hours a week and still don't earn enough money to take care of their families? What we know today is that Wall Street and billionaires are pouring huge amounts of money, and I mean huge, the political process, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. All the while, poor people in Kansas, Missouri, and Vermont, and all over this country, they're trying to figure out how they can survive the coming week, how they're going to feed their kids, how they're going to keep their apartments warm, how they're going to be able to put gas in the car to get to work. Now, the truth is that very few people in Congress talk about poverty, except to disparage the poor. The corporate media talks about everything under the sun except poverty. And you and I know that the poor do not make campaign contributions. The poor have no political power, and most people living in poverty do not even vote, way outside of the political process. Well, let me be very clear. This candidate for president will talk about poverty. With the most oppressed people in wealthiest country. And let me just tell you something that is not pleasant. It's not something I feel joy in telling you or you feel joy in hearing. But we have got to hear it. And that is, the United States of America has the highest poverty rate of almost any major country on earth. Nearly 47 million of our brothers and sisters in this country are living in poverty. The African American poverty rate is over 26%. Latino poverty rate over 23%. Native Americans, over 28% of our Native Americans are living in poverty. 28%, think about this. 28% of people with disabilities are living in poverty. 10% of seniors are living in poverty. In America today, at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, we have as a nation by far the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any country. 21% of our kids living in poverty, 37% of African American kids living in poverty. So here you are in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. But most people don't know it because almost all of the new income and wealth goes to the top 1%. And here we are in a country where so many of our people are hurting and hurting badly. Kids sleeping out on the street, veterans sleeping out on the street, senior citizens cutting their medicine in half because they cannot afford the medicine they need. That is a reality that is unacceptable, and today we're going to change that. Are you ready for some radical ideas? Radical idea number one, anyone in America who works 40 hours a week or more should not be living in poverty. The federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. Raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. And I hope that every man in this room will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity. Real unemployment in this country, real unemployment, including those who have given up looking for work and those who are working part-time, is almost 10%. Youth unemployment is completely off the charts. For high school graduates who are white, 33%, Latino 36%, African American 51%. So what we are going to do to address unemployment and address poverty, we are going to create a federal massive jobs program. If you think that our crumbling infrastructure is just the water system in Flint, Michigan, you would be mistaken. All over this country, water systems, wastewater plants, roads, bridges, rail, airports, levees, dams need an enormous amount of work. We can create millions of jobs rebuilding our be hiring teachers, not firing teachers. And if you want to deal with poverty, then we will join the rest of the industrialized world and guarantee health care to all people. Now those are not radical ideas. Those are the ideas that the American people want. May not be what Congress wants. Congress wants tax breaks for billionaires. Republicans want to cut Social Security and Medicare. Congress sucks. But our job is to bring our people together, black and white, Latino, Asian American. We will not allow Trump and the others to we will create the America that the American people deserve. Now, I've gone all over this country in this campaign, and the American people are telling me they are sick and tired of massive levels of income and wealth inequality. They are tired of the top 0.1% now owning almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. They are tired of the 20 wealthiest people owning more wealth than the bottom 50%. Now I know that in Kansas, you got a governor who likes to beat up. It's always so easy to beat up on people who are helpless, who are downtrodden. That's always an easy target to beat up on the poor, to talk about welfare abuse among the poor. Let me tell you something. In America today, we got one family, the wealthiest family in America, called the Walton family, who owns Walmart. Let me tell the governor of Kansas, the largest welfare, biggest welfare recipient in America is the Walton family of Walmart. They pay their workers wages that are so low that many of these workers are forced to go on Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing. And it is the working people and the middle class who have to pay taxes to make sure that Walmart employees can maintain at least a minimal standard of living. So when you talk about welfare abuse, I say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, pay your workers a living. Talk about what goes on in this country. Anybody here who thinks there is not a direct correlation between the outrageously high levels of youth unemployment and another tragedy that together we are going to address, and that is that as a nation, we have more people in jail, 2.2 million people, than any other country on earth. China, 4 times our size, we have more people in jail than China. We're spending $80 billion a year locking up fellow Americans. So you want another radical idea? Together we are going to invest in education and jobs for our young people. Not jails and incarceration. values run around the country, and they talk about family values. They just love families. And I want everybody here to know exactly what they mean by that. And what they mean by that is no woman in this room, in this state, in this country, in their view, should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. Should at the federal level defund Planned Parenthood. I think what they mean by family values is that our gay brothers and sisters should not have the right to marry. I disagree. Jane and I have been married for 27 years. Great kids and 7 beautiful grandchildren. And we believe in family values, but my family values just a little bit different than Republican family values. My family values are that we end the international embarrassment of the United States being the only major country on earth not to guarantee paid family and medical leave. Today, a woman in Kansas, a woman in Missouri, a woman in Vermont is having a baby, and that is a beautiful, beautiful day. But if that mom is working class, if that mom is low income, that mother in all likelihood will have to separate herself from her beautiful baby in 1 week or 2 weeks because she has to go back to work to earn enough income to provide for her family. That is not a family value. And that is why together we are going to pass legislation guaranteeing 3 months paid family. When we talk about the economy, yeah, we're going to talk about pensions, and we're not going to let corporate America destroy pensions promised to America.
Yeah!
We talk about our economy, and it's not just the need to create millions of jobs, it is the need to prevent the loss of millions of jobs because of disastrous trade policies written by corporate America. Since 2001 in this country, we have lost 60,000 factories and millions of good-paying jobs. What NAFTA and CAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China is about is allowing corporate America to throw American workers out on the street, move to low-wage countries, and bring their products back into this country. Together, we are going to change trade policies. If corporate America wants us to buy their products, time is long overdue for them to start manufacturing those products here in Missouri, here in Kansas. Now, in this campaign, we have been talking about a corrupt campaign finance system and the need to overturn Citizens United. We have been talking about a rigged economy and the need to create an economy that works for working people, not just the 1%. And we have been talking about a broken criminal justice system A system which has allowed unarmed African Americans to be killed in cold blood. And when I talk about a corrupt campaign finance system, and when I talk about a rigged economy, when I talk about a broken criminal justice system, it all comes together in one brief story that I'd like to tell you. Last month, Goldman Sachs, one of the largest financial institutions on Wall Street, one of the financial institutions responsible for the Wall Street crash, which was the worst economic recession since the Great Depression. A month ago, Goldman Sachs reached a settlement with the United States government for $5 billion. Other banks actually have reached even larger settlements. Now, why do these banks reach multi-billion-dollar settlements with the federal government? The answer is that they were guilty of selling packages of subprime mortgages which were worthless and which helped destroy our economy. That's point number one, is that you have major institutions on Wall Street that are fraudulent. Point number two, these Wall Street firms, Goldman Sachs and all the others, make huge campaign contributions to politicians. That's how the system works. Point number three, there is a revolving door. You know what a revolving door is? What that means is that people from Wall Street and corporate America go to government. Goldman Sachs has had 2 secretaries of the Treasury in the last 20, 25 years. And then they go back to Wall Street. So they do Wall Street's bidding while they're in government, and dozens of other high-ranking government officials come from Wall Street. Fourth point, and maybe the one that upsets the American people the most, and that is that today in Kansas, Missouri, all over this country, some person gets picked up for possessing, say, marijuana. And millions of people have been picked up for possessing marijuana over the last 30 years. That person gets picked up, that person has a police record for the rest of his or her life. Okay? Police record for possessing marijuana. But if you are a Wall Street executive whose illegal behavior helped destroy the American economy, you know what you get? You get a raise in your salary, no police record. So together, we are going to bring justice back to a broken criminal justice. When we talk about America today, everybody here knows it's a no-brainer that if our economy is to succeed, we need the best educated workforce in the world. 40 years ago, we had the best educated workforce in the world. Today, we do not. Now, in America today, we've got hundreds of thousands of bright young people who have done well in high school, who have the qualifications to go to college. They are unable to do so for one reason. That reason is their families lack the funds. That is crazy stuff. You know, 50 years ago, a high school degree enabled you to go out and in many cases get a very good job. Today, a college degree in many ways is the equivalent of what a high school degree was 50 years ago. In the year 2016, it is not good enough to be talking about first grade through 12th grade. We have got to make sure when we talk about public education, that our public colleges and universities are tuition free. And the other issue we have got to talk about is the fact that millions of our people, some young and some not so young, are being crushed today by oppressive and outrageous student debt. Anybody here with student debt? I rest my case. Some of you are 50,000 in debt, 100,000, 200,000, and even more. In America, people should not be punished for getting a higher education. That is why we are going to allow people with student debt to refinance that debt at the lowest interest rates they can find. Now, people say to me, "Oh, Bernie, that's an expensive proposition. You want public colleges and universities to be tuition free, you want a substantially lower student debt, how are you going to pay for it?" I will tell you how we're going to pay for it. We're going to impose a tax on Wall Street speculators. I was in the Senate when this happened, when Wall Street's illegal behavior nearly destroyed this economy. Wall Street went begging the United States Congress. They said, bail us out. Well, now it is Wall Street's turn to help the middle class. When we talk about our responsibilities as human beings, as adults, as parents, let me tell you something that many Republicans don't even choose to talk about, and that is climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity. And climate change is already causing devastating problems in this country and around the world. Telling us is pretty scary stuff. And they say we have a short window of opportunity to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency, sustainable energy. We work with China, Russia, India, countries all over this world to make sure that we leave this planet to future generations in a way that is healthy and happy. If elected president, I will take on the fossil fuel industry. Their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. Now, during the course of this campaign, I have been accused of many, many things. Bernie, you're thinking too big. Bernie, you're so unfair to the billionaires and the 1%. Give them a break. Well, I say it's time to give working families in this country. You know, people say, it's a funny thing. When I talk about making public colleges and universities tuition free, when I talk about creating millions of jobs, rebuilding our infrastructure, people are wrong. The establishment says, oh, that's so expensive, it's so radical. Let me tell you what is radical. In the last 30 years, there has been a massive redistribution of wealth from working families to the top 1/10%. Trillions of dollars. That is radical.
Yes.
When working families work longer hours for low wages and almost all new income and wealth goes to the top 1%, that is radical.
Damn right. Yeah.
To stand up for working families is not radical, it's what the American people want and need. Now, one area that I have been criticized for is the very radical idea that maybe, just maybe, the United States of America should do what every other major country, England, France, Scandinavia, Germany, Holland, Italy, every major country or Canada. You know what they do? They provide health care to all of their people. Let me be very clear in telling my critics, yes, I believe that health care is a right, not a privilege. The Affordable Care Act has done some very good things, and I'm proud of that. But 29 million people remain uninsured. Millions of people are underinsured. We continue to pay, by far, the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. In fact, 1 out of 5 Americans can't even afford to fill the prescriptions their doctors write. That's crazy. So you know what? Count me in. I believe the United States should join the rest of the industrialized world, guarantee health care for all people. And the way we do that is through a Medicare for all single-payer program.
Yeah!
What this campaign is about is changing American priorities. It will tell workers that their pensions that were promised to them will not be cut by greedy and irresponsible corporations.
Yes!
It tells senior citizens, no, we're not going to do what Republicans want, which is to cut Social Security. We're going to expand Social Security. About is criminal justice reform, which holds police officers accountable when they break the law. Which demilitarizes local police departments. Which makes police departments look like the diversity of the community they serve. Which ends maximum sentencing and gives judges discretion. Which understands that drug abuse and addiction is a health issue, not a criminal issue. Revolution in mental health so people get the treatment they need. A country in which people who should not have guns will not have guns. None of these ideas are radical. They are uncomfortable ideas to the billionaire class, which wants it all. So what this campaign is about is saying the following. No president, not Bernie Sanders, Not anybody else can do it alone. What we need are millions of people all over this country to stand up and say loudly and clearly, enough is enough! This campaign is ultimately about is nothing more than saying the American people deserve a government which represents all of us, not just the campaign contributors. Thank you all very much. The reason is a pretty simple one, and that is the American people in Kansas, in Missouri, all over this country, are sick and tired of establishment politics. They've heard it over and over and over again.
Yeah!